Okay, let's just get one thing straight. The project we're looking at today, well, it tells you right up front that it's not really music. It's something else entirely. It's framed as a knowledge preservation system, a key, maybe, to unlock a completely different way of hearing things. So this whole thing is called INTERIM Protocol. And right away, the language is different. The creator describes it as a temporal anchor point and a neural activation sequence. Basically, it's setting the stage for something that's way more than just a collection of tracks. It's a piece of a much larger science fiction story, told completely through experimental sound. Okay, so here's the setup. The whole idea is that you, the listener, have just intercepted a broken message. It's a warning, and it's from a character called ProfessorClock. He's trying to tell you that the established systems, our ways of knowing things, they're compromised. So from the get-go, you're not just a passive listener. You're part of this. You're receiving a critical signal. And get this, the message says that a really important sequence, the numbers 369, has been broken up, scattered for its own protection. And this is where it gets interesting, because this is where you come in. The whole experience asks you to become an active observer, to actually start looking for these patterns to show up in your day-to-day life. And we're not talking vague instructions either. It gets super specific. You're told to document things like recurring numbers, those weird little synchronicities that happen, and even dreams that might contain these kinds of ancestral symbols. The whole point seems to be to totally blur the line between what you're hearing and what you're experiencing, making you an actual participant in this story. So you gotta be wondering, who's the mind behind all this? Well, the creator has said that the main character, this ProfessorClock, he wasn't planned out in a script. Nope. This time-traveling archivist apparently just appeared straight out of the sounds he was making. It's like the character was literally born from the audio frequencies. And this is where you start to see the real scale of this thing. I mean, look at this timeline. INTERIM Protocol isn't just some standalone release. It's the newest chapter in a massive, sprawling story called The New Adventures of ProfessorClock. This is a sonic saga that has been going for almost 15 years. It's wild. So what is this whole saga, really? Well, at its heart, it's a seriously ambitious work of Afrofuturism. It's a creative world that mashes up ideas about speculative futures with ancient knowledge, and the entire story is told through the language of experimental electronic sound. The philosophy behind this music is just completely different from your typical studio album. Most music you hear is polished, quantized, locked to a grid, right? This stuff is intentionally, perfectly imperfect. The rhythms are loose, unquantized, totally organic. You're meant to think of it less like a finished, static product and more like a living, breathing archive of sound. The whole chronicle is set to span 12 separate volumes, and each one is supposed to be its own little sonic time capsule. It's like a doorway into the creator's head, showing you his artistic evolution and what was going on in his life at that specific moment. So what kicks off a huge decade-and-a-half-long project like this? Well, it actually started from a place of deep personal loss. The creator's grandmother passed away, and he turned to making this music as a way to work through his grief. He was trying to build a sound world where time itself felt more flexible, more fluid. This whole universe really began as a personal ritual for healing. All right, so how is this stuff actually made? I mean, what's the process? The creator calls it digital alchemy, and the goal is to get a sound that's kind of like what this quote says, like hearing a version of yourself from another timeline. Something that feels familiar, but at the same time, completely new. Okay, so here's the process, broken down really simply. First, the artist takes his entire archive of original sound, we're talking 14 years worth, and feeds it to an AI collaborator. Then, the AI reinterprets all that sonic data, kind of chews on it, and spits out something new. And that's when the artist steps back in to act as a curator, arranging that output into these completely original compositions. And let's be clear, this is not about a machine taking over for the artist, not at all. It's all about human intuition guiding the machine's intelligence. The result is a sound that, frankly, neither one could have made on their own. It's a true partnership between the organic and the synthetic. Which, of course, brings up a really good question. What makes this series worth listening to in full? Why not just read the key points? And I think the answer is that the real value isn't in the plot summary. It's in the personal experience of it all, noticing the patterns for yourself and feeling how the sound actually interacts with your own mind. And that brings us full circle, right back to interim protocol. Now that we have all this background, its purpose feels a lot clearer, doesn't it? This isn't meant to be background music. It's designed as a fully active experience, something that uses sound to hook into your own memory and your brain's knack for spotting patterns. So remember that instruction to keep an eye out for patterns? Well, the whole story suggests it all starts with this number. You can think of it as the first piece of a key. It's the initial signal that the transmission is starting to come through loud and clear. And then the next part of the code shows up. The idea here is that when you start seeing these numbers out in the world, in your own life, it's not just a coincidence. It's a sign that you're actually tuning into the frequency of this story.
And then, finally, the sequence clicks into place. 3, 6, 9. In the lore of this world, these numbers are directly connected to a very old system of knowledge. Seeing them in order is supposed to be the confirmation, the sign that you're fully locked in.
When you step back, the project's goal is, well, it's huge. It all really boils down to this one big question that it asks you, the listener. It's all about using sound to try and tap into a kind of knowing that existed long before our digital world, a sort of ancestral memory, if you will.
And it all leads to this. Interim protocol is presented as the way in, the access point. The final instruction couldn't be simpler or more direct, and it leaves you with a real sense of purpose. And the choice. It's streaming now. All you have to do is press play when you're ready to remember.